My sister was a single mom to my niece Ellie for 8 years. Then she met her husband Rich and very quickly she ended up pregnant. Ellie really didn't know Rich at all by that point and she wasn't thrilled. My sister was of the opinion that Ellie would come around in time. After baby Liam was born, my sister set up these cut photo shoots for Ellie and Liam. She involved Ellie in the pregnancy, which was something Ellie resisted doing. But my sister basically gave her no choice. When Liam was 1, my sister found out that Ellie and her BFF Hazel were talking about the new half-siblings in their lives. Hazel's half-sister was born a couple of months before Liam was and neither their half-sibling a real sibling. My sister heard Hazel and Ellie say they didn't love or care about their half-siblings, their stepdads, and how they didn't have a real family anymore. Hazel claimed her mom replaced her dad and that she would never want the replacement family. Ellie told Hazel she missed it being just her and her mom, and she never wanted a dad like her mom seemed to think. She also said Liam was just a baby, she didn't get all affectionate and protective like most of the family said she would. She said if Rich took Liam and left for good she would be kinda glad. My sister contacted Hazel's mom and stepdad and she told them Hazel was no longer welcome in our house. When Ellie didn't change toward Liam afterward, she told her she could no longer see Hazel anymore and their friendship was over. My sister told me about it at the time and I asked her how she was planning to do that and wouldn't therapy be better. She said they just feed off each other too much. She went to their school to try and get them separated but the school refused. She wanted me to pay for Ellie to go to a private school to get her away from Hazel but I said no. Now Ellie is 15 and surprising few except for my sister and Rich a small bit, Ellie and Hazel are still friends at school and have never lost contact. Apparently neither girl feels very different either. Ellie now has a new half-sister, Olivia, and Hazel has 2 half-brothers. My sister lost her shit when she found out and when she confronted Ellie, she was told by Ellie that Hazel is the most important person to her anymore and she would never give her up for them. My sister grounded Ellie and has tried to make her want to stay away from Hazel but it doesn't work. My sister has brought this up a few times since finding out and the other day she accused me of not ever appearing surprised that Ellie disobeyed her. I admitted that I wasn't and I always knew trying to take Ellie's best friend from her would be something Ellie wouldn't go along with. My sister accused me of not being honest with her, by not saying this sooner, and of wanting her marriage and family to fail. She also accused me of being arrogant and thinking I know Ellie better than she does. She also claimed I knew and had seen the girls together. Which is untrue. Comment 1. NTA. Your sister has a fantasy about a happy blended family. It's a fantasy. Your sister was aware of Ellie's feelings and tried to force change by removing Hazel. Even if she had succeeded in removing Hazel from Ellie's life, Ellie would have continued to feel the same and possibly met someone else in a similar situation to share her thoughts. Ellie's behavior generally would have given clues that her feelings hadn't changed. Some families blend, some don't. Therapy sometimes helps. Your sister needs to wake up and face reality. Comment 2. NTA. You can't command someone, especially a child or teenager, to feel differently. It almost always works to reinforce the existing feeling. What you need is to let them talk it out, and explain it, and come to the conclusion on their own that their feelings make them assholes and want to change. Yeah, a real psychologist will say this better than me. Of course this would happen. But also, of course she would have hated you for ever speaking up against her stupid decisions. Comment 3. Yes, blame everybody for your child resisting something you forced her to accept and not listening to her thoughts and feelings in the matter. NTA. Your sister needs to get her head out of her bottom. This is not about her, this is about her daughter being driven away by her sister's behavior. If she keeps this up she will damage her relationship with Ellie permanently. My parents divorced when I was a lot younger. Maybe 4 or 5. My mom met her husband Dave when I was 6. Dave tried really hard to impress me in the early days of his and mom's relationship. They moved quickly and within 2 months of meeting Dave he moved in with mom, so whenever I was with mom I lived with him too. By the time they got engaged, I had known him for about 11 months, and he was so jealous of my relationship with my dad. He would make comments like, "Oh, you never do that with me," when someone in my extended family asked how Dad was or what I got up to at home with him. Or, "You never invite me to participate in your school for fun days where we could bring a member of our family, or you never make me nice drawings and cards at school." Those comments were frequent, and it only got worse when my extended family would ask about my dad. Dave hated how much I loved my dad and how much I enjoyed doing stuff with him. When I was 9, my dad died suddenly. And the day my dad died, Dave turned around and said to me, "You wouldn't care this much if I died." He was jealous again that I was so heartbroken over losing my dad. I asked him why I would care this much about him when he's not important to me. Dave was really angry, and he told my mom, and she told me I was cruel to him. She didn't care what he said to me. It made me dislike that my mom stood by him when I had lost my dad that day. 3 years after my dad died, Dave was diagnosed with a form of cancer. He didn't like my response and brought up that I would have cared more if my dad had told me. He ended up being okay, but my lack of worry for him or sadness pissed him off, and our relationship got way worse. My mom decided 5 months ago that we needed to make our relationship better because I'm 17 and she knows I'll be moving out as soon as I can. So she brought us to a family therapist and told the therapist she wants us to get along, and if we can't get along naturally, then we should do it for her sake. I asked her why I would when she let him act like a petulant child because I loved and grieved my dad. I asked how I was supposed to be okay with her being fine with him saying the shit he did when Dad died. She told me what I said was worse. We've been going a few months with zero progress. My mom was upset about it Saturday because Dave took my half-siblings out for the day and I refused to go. She complained that therapy should have done a better job. I told her she's wasting her time with therapy because it will never fix things between me and Dave. She told me I could at least try, and comments like that show I don't care. Comment 1. NTA. A step-parent is an additional parent, not a replacement. Our roles and responsibilities never include comparing our relationship to the other parents, and it's never on the child to build the relationship, but they do get to define the boundaries on it. If he wants a better relationship, then he needs to put in the work to get it. You don't owe him one because he married your mum. Comment 2. Maybe there is more to this story. The OP is turning 18 soon. Is it possible he will soon have access to money held in trust from his late father? Could this be a reason the mother now wants a happy family, particularly if her husband may have challenges providing due to his health in the future? Even if he doesn't have inheritance funds, he is a future income earner that she may expect to generously support his family. Comment 3. I'm actually just so proud of you that, even at such a young age, you did not fall for his guilt tripping. His emotions are not and never will be your responsibility. His comments are emotionally manipulative and come from insecurity that, as someone in a parental role in your life, he should not be projecting onto you. He needs to get his own therapy. He has major issues. My mom remarried when I was a kid and had another kid, Jack, who is currently 15. I'm 23. Anyways, I got married a month ago and it was nice, but my mom's family did not attend. I was devastated, but my dad's side and everyone else made up for it. When my mom finally contacted me, the night after, she told me that Jack had gotten into an accident a couple nights before. He was with an older friend of his who crashed the car. He's physically fine but was pretty spooked and refused to get into the car, but they couldn't leave him alone because they were worried. Mom said she was going to come by herself or with my step-siblings, but then there was an issue with the car which was caused by Jack freaking out when they were first getting ready to leave. She then said she was going to call an Uber to get to the wedding, but Jack had passed out from the stress, so she couldn't leave because she was terrified something happened to him. I understand, but if I'm being honest, I don't know if I believe my mom 100%. She sounded pretty apologetic, but I'm still upset that no one let me know. Apart from my mom, Jack, and my stepdad, who might have been way too preoccupied, my step-siblings are all over 16 years old with phones of their own. Couldn't they have told me? My mom asked me if we could meet, but I honestly didn't want to see her in that moment. Though her absence was valid, she's never at any of my big events because of Jack. It might be pure coincidence, but I just didn't want to see her. I was and am still upset. My mom was annoyed by this and told me the world doesn't revolve around me and I have no right to be upset over her not being there now that I know why. I told her that I don't care, I don't want to see her. In fact, I'm very angry at her. She told me that I'm being selfish and that she won't be contacting me anymore until I apologize because she cannot handle my childish tantrums on top of everything else. I don't know. I think I should have just said okay and met up with her, but I'm hurt. She still hasn't talked to me, though she usually doesn't go through with her threats. Comment 1. NTA. It sounds like there's something fishy going on. Either Jack is manipulating your mom to grab all of the attention, or your mom has some strange psychological thing going on with wanting to lavish all of her attention on Jack. I don't blame you for being upset. You have a right to be angry or upset about it, and your mother doesn't get to dictate how you feel. You two need to sit down and hash this out. Your mom sounds really defensive, so I don't really have high hopes, but she at least needs to hear you out. OP comment. I don't think Jack did anything wrong if I'm being so honest. He's very meh about things and doesn't seem that close to mom himself. If you asked me 2 months ago, I'd tell you that mom and I have a better relationship than mom and him do. She's either using him as an excuse or something really did happen and they just don't want to tell me. Comment 2. NTA. My mom was annoyed by this and told me the world doesn't revolve around me. It was your wedding day, FFS. There aren't many bigger days than that in your life. I'm sorry your mum is turning this around to make you seem like the bad person. If I were you, I would react in the same way. I, 19F, have been babysitting occasionally for a few families for the past 2 years. A week ago, a new family got my numbers from one of the families I babysit for a lot. I told them upfront that I have this rule where I only babysit boys that are 10 and under, but when it comes to girls, the age isn't an issue for me. They told me they had 2 boys, ages 9 and 10, so I agreed. They told me that they had very important plans the day I am to babysit, and I assured them I am very professional and will be there on time and all that. The day came and I went to their house and the dad greeted me, then took me to their living room to meet the boys. To my surprise, the boys looked like no 9 and 10 I've ever met. One looked 12 and the other looked he could be 15 or even 16. Both were taller than me and the older one even had some visible facial hair. All that was going through my head was these parents lied to me about the ages because I lead with my rule about ages and they lied to me just so I would accept. When the mother came down and greeted me, I asked to speak to her in another room and I told her I cannot babysit. I was also truthful about the reason and she was livid. We got into a back and forth where I basically said that I feel they lied about the ages and she even said, "Oh, so you want me to show you their birth certificates to believe me?" At this point I was kinda mad because she was immediately livid and I also felt like I was fooled. Anyways, I said yeah, some proof would help. She stomped off to the living room and I could hear her tell her husband, "Get this bee out of my house, I will stay with the boys." I walked out of the kitchen towards the front door and announced I'm leaving. Before I stepped out. Later that night the mom of the family who recommended me called and was also pretty angry. I explained that these boys looked so much older than they were said to be and there was no way they weren't lying. She said maybe one is actually 11 but the other is truly 9 and that they just looked like they were so much older. To be fair, the mother was tall and the dad was huge. It's actually the reason I asked to confront the mother and not the father. But boys weren't just tall but also looked older face-wise. Also, babysitting 2 strange boys who were both taller and clearly so much stronger than me doesn't feel safe, which is why I have the age rule in the first place. There was no way that their mother didn't realize her boys looked so much older than boys their ages. I feel like it was something she should have mentioned after telling her my rule about the ages. I felt like I was justified, but I also felt bad that I ruined their plans. Everyone involved is angry with me and I wonder if maybe I was overreacting and should have just babysat since I agreed. Right now I don't know what to think. Comment 1. NTA. In the future, ask the parents how old their kids are before you disclose your rule. When you do it the other way around, you give the parents an incentive to lie. Comment 2. And, if you have a suspicion about how old the kids are, just ask one of them, hey, what grade are you in? They might have been primed to lie about their age for their parents, but not their grade. Smile. I don't think OP handled this in the best way possible, but it sounds like she dodged a bullet because anyone who calls a teenage girl a witch is probably not raising well-mannered boys. Comment 3. NTA. I babysat for a family for a couple of years. The boy was maybe 12 when I first started. After a year or two when I babysat, he would keep coming downstairs asking for a hug. I stopped after the second trip he did that as it made me nervous. He was taller and had started getting facial hair, obviously hitting puberty feelings pretty hard. I, 43M, have 2 kids, 15F and 14M. Sophomore and freshman. This school year, they've been making some really good grades, 3.7+, and even juggling sports and or clubs with that as well. I acknowledge that high school is difficult, between academics and social lives and athletics/hobbies. Over spring break, April the 1st to the 5th, my wife and I were planning to go on a 5 to 7 trip with our kids to Vegas because, well, we don't have anything else to do. I told my kids about it, and they seemed pretty happy for a getaway and a break. On Saturday, my wife and I were looking at hotel bookings, and I brought up the idea of leaving on Good Friday, 29th of March, and come back a week later on the 5th. I also added that they could probably stay home on Thursday just to relax as well. This is the part where my wife's face made the sound of a 1997 Windows PC shutting down. She is very you go to school unless you're sick. She's not a mental health day person. The idea of missing school Thursday and Friday, our potential bookings were about 6 a.m., was a huge no-no. She just began to ask me why they needed to skip that day, with my reasoning being mostly A, kids need a break, and B, these same kids have missed only one day so far, and also C, they're good kids, why not reward them? Even after a lot of talking, she still won't budge. I've been thinking that maybe I could have them take the one day off anyways, but I'm asking here to see if I would be wrong before I do anything that could be seen as dump. Comment 1. YTA Vegas local here. You don't need to bring kids here for a week or more. There isn't much for them to do around here. Vegas is geared to adults, not kids. They're going to be bored. All the things kids can do can be done in like one day. Just for your information. Comment 2. First, you ran it past your wife, and she doesn't agree with the plan. You pursuing this in any way is undermining her authority as a parent. Don't pit mom against dad, because in doing so, you make her look like the mean parent and yourself like the fun one. Second, your kids are getting time to unwind on the days of spring break that are part of the school calendar. They're earning high school credits to graduate. You taking them out of school is making them miss out on learning. You're also setting the precedent that it's okay to just skip school because you want to do something more fun. That's not how life works.
Recently my family were invited to my brother's wedding, me, my husband, our daughter, 21, and our son, 18, everyone except our younger son, 16, because it is a child-free wedding. I called my brother to confirm that my son wasn't invited because I have been to child-free wedding before that are 13 plus or 16 plus, and my son won't behave badly or need such close supervision as a younger child would. My brother was very apologetic and said that he can't make exceptions to his rule, and some of his friends have much younger kids and he doesn't want to look like he is showing favoritism by allowing my 16-year-old to come. That was fine by me. I understand child-free weddings. I had a child-free wedding prior to having kids. My brother has 2 children of his own from a previous marriage, 16 and 17, and 2 of my sister's kids are also under 18, 13 and 15, and I assumed none of them would be invited either. The wedding is in a different country and my family would be flying out for the weekend. My 16 years old is a bit sad about not being invited because him and my brother are close. I also don't want to leave him home alone for the weekend, so I have made a plan that on the night of the wedding him and his cousins could hang out in the hotel, use the pool, get room service and make a night of it. Then the next day we could explore the city as a family, so my son doesn't feel sad about being left out. When I told my brother the plan, he thought it was a great idea, but when I told my sister, she was surprised and said her kids have been invited and that she didn't know it was child-free, 18 plus. She had checked with my brother who told her it was 13 plus, so my niece was invited. So we both called my brother, who admitted that my son is the only under 18 in the immediate family who has not been invited, though he wouldn't say why despite me pushing him. My sister and I have both decided to not attend as we are both pissed off at him and she loves my 16 years old. My mother is calling us both up saying we are being childish and letting my brother down. My brother's soon-to-be wife is also furious at us and says that my brother is distraught and that my son was excluded, for a good reason, once again not saying the reason. My brother-in-law, sister's husband, is also upset and blaming me for my sister not going, and I am starting to feel bad and wish I had just let sleeping dogs lie. NTA. Actions have consequences, and your brother better have a damn good reason to exclude your 16 years old son when 13 and 15 years old kids of your sister are invited. I would also not attend his wedding. It's just insane what he did without providing any reason. What did they think? That you arrive, see your sister's kids who both are younger than yours there, and then smile and wish him all the best.